Deep Throat.
Nah, deeper than deep.
The Devil and Miss Jones.
I don't know Miss Jones.
Sasquatch.
Hey. Don't be messing with Sasquatch.
Black Pie for the white guy.
Oh. Saving Ryan's Privates.
Lord of the Cock Rings.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a really short list.
He kills me.
Dylan?
Yeah.
What are your...
It's a picture of a guy getting abducted by a UFO, and above the UFO it says people wearing pajamas in public, and then above the guy getting sucked up says lotto tickets.
Dude, we experienced that a little while ago.
Oh, God.
Fastest way to Jay's heart is through a meme.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're live.
Or lasagna.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Titty fuck that.
Titty fuck that lasagna. They shot it on your tits earlier, dude.
They did.
They empanated you, Jones, man.
I can't tell it because we're live on the air.
Are we on the air?
Yeah, hey, we're live.
No,
Thanks
All
for
right.
letting me know.
Yeah, thanks. I'm gonna take my dick out again.
I'm talking about titty fucking and shooting it on your tits.
Well, I guess it's... So apparently, as I was perusing oh, someone's here already.
It's not me. I got the penguins on still.
Sid
scored the empty netter finally.
Yay!
Senior, shut up.
What?
There's one senior, shut up.
Someone say what?
I don't understand the reference.
Priest.
Which priest?
Monsignor.
Old
Judas.
Priest? Old priest or young?
Judas.
Usually Monsignor's older. Because they've risen up through the hierarchy.
Of diddling boys. Diddling little
Not
boys.
all of them.
Boys.
Not all of them.
Not all the little boys?
No, not all the
Just
priests.
some little boys.
Just some of them.
Should we do a mic check?
Yeah, that's
You
probably
want
a
us to
good idea.
check you out?
Go ahead, James.
This is a microphone test. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Microphone check. T3.
Microphone check. T3s.
Microphone check. T2. Making me cry.
Oh, yeah. Who's on? Who's on? That's what I want to know. Who's watching us? Other than the NSA. Do they
This is a microphone test. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Microphone check. T3.
Microphone check. T3s.
Microphone check. T2. Making me cry.
You were getting picked up by both
Who's on?
mics there.
I was wondering if, because it sounds good here, but like when I still listen to them later, it still sounds like there's a chorus effect. And I think what you said is right. It's just because it's coming through both microphones. What if we put like a shield,
No. Okay.
some kind of shield here?
Yeah, there you go.
that
Right there's a
blocks-
shield.
Dude, you're fucking brilliant.
There's a pillow right there. You want to try that?
That's
How
a
about-
huge
No,
fucking
How about
pillow.
I just do this on it?
Oh yeah. Could you?
Whoa.
I'm just.
That's
Oh yeah, don't move.
Yeah.
Because that Lefroy bottle's is in prime condition here. Oh, thank you.
movies. Ah, movies? They have soundtracks?
Deliverance. Yeah.
Hey,
Ah.
So you didn't like my suggestion. Oh, it was Shannon, by the way. Shannon is the number one viewer.
Hi, Shannon.
Awesome.
is she out there?
No. She's at home.
Hi. What am I looking? Hi. I know how things work.
I drink and I know things.
Yeah, I don't know anything. All right, that's
Um,
the show is posted.
So you don't want to do...
You already shared and everything?
Yeah.
You don't want
What?
to do a shield, is what you're saying.
What?
I would want to get a professional shield,
Oh.
not just a pillow. But
What do you think about getting
because I don't want to completely block it.
What about getting a pop filter?
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Like getting some kind of
I've got,
like a foam shield or something, because I don't want to block
Do
the
it.
Viper
Do
droid.
the pop
just
filter.
do it.
the
Just
droid.
do it.
Yeah, I got some pop filters.
See,
Thanks
he's so
for-
good
Thanks
at
for making me make him do it.
it. Yep. I think that's coming back up, rap season.
Yeah, all the white kids will be out again in the fucking.
As soon as the snow
jorts.
melts, right?
You guys got turntables?
Yeah.
Y'all got them turntables.
Y'all got them turntables,
Yeah.
pop filters.
Yeet.
It's fucking phonograph needles. That'll be coming up soon.
Yeet.
The yeet is complete.
Are we ready to record this shit or what?
Do we sound good yet?
We could do another.
La 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 la.
Just
La,
you
la,
and
la,
me,
la, la,
Jason.
la.
They sounded fun.
Just you and me.
Just
You
you.
might want to slide this way a little more. Just
Really?
Picked up on that.
How about now?
Well, I mean, you're not going to talk that way.
All right, hold on. I'll get natural. Are you
Yeah,
ready?
get lay back in
Yes.
the corner.
How about now?
It's
Check.
Check 2. Just you and me, Jason. They sounded fun.
Just you and me.
Just
You might want to slide this way a little more. Just
Really?
Picked up on that.
How about now?
Well, I mean, you're not going to talk that way.
All right, hold on. I'll get natural. Are you
Yeah,
ready?
get lay back
Yes.
in the corner. Lay back in the corner.
How about now?
It's
Check.
Check 2. Seemed fine to me.
I'm good with whatever the flip goes down, buddy.
Look at Delphia. What are you doing with that? Are you recording?
What
or
are you doing with that?
broadcasting that?
No, I'm just recording.
You could always do Facebook Live with the GoPro. You could have Facebook Live and a YouTube Live.
I don't think you could.
Why?
You do it through your phone.
Do GoPro
You'd have to
Live.
like not touch your phone.
Oh,
You could.
fat chance.
Yeah. No.
I thought that was an air pump.
Oh, sorry. What's happening?
All right, ready?
Ready?
I shared it.
Ready, Freddy?
Yeah.
Which can I mention? I can't believe that movie won for best editing.
Dude, I think you should mention anything you want to mention. What are we talking about?
Bohemian Rhapsody won best editing at the Oscars.
I haven't seen it yet.
I'll just show you one scene, and it'll tell you everything you need to know about why it didn't deserve to win best editing. Give me 20 seconds.
I'm ready. We don't have to start the show. Anybody text Rick yet? I can speak.
I'm watching you all right now, naked, filming it.
This is like
Whoa! Yeah!
this is from the movie. This is the editing in the movie.
Is that Ron Burgundy?
How jarring is the editing? on
Horrible. That is horrible.
Maybe that's what they were going for. And that's some like
Jeez. It's just, I mean, it's worse than like one of the modern fight scenes. You see
Yeah.
it? It's like,
Oh my god, it's jarring and it's dialogue. All right, let's do this. Ready?
hey, buddy,
Going live.
do me a favor before you start that. Find time to bitch about that. I would like to hear that on the podcast. That'd be good.
Going live in 5.
What's going on, everyone? It's Jay from the Wednesday Night Whiskey Committee.
We're starting over.
Why?
Told you I was trying.
Fucking horn man over here.
Horn man.
What do you mean, horn man?
I'm horny. What do you want?
Was I blasting?
No,
No.
I
His phone
was
went off.
trying to set my phone, turn my
Oh,
phone
I
off.
didn't hear it. All right, do it again. And action. What's going on, everyone? It's Jay from the Wednesday Night Whiskey Committee.
Alright, here's where it is.
Dicks.
Bunch of cums.
Fuck you. God damn it.
Check.
Jesus Christ. I'm just hitting record, for Christ's sake. Oh. Broke it. It's broken. Something happened.
Here, some Somebody else hold this. What's going on, everyone? It's Jay from the Wednesday Night Whiskey Committee, here with another episode. This week, before we get started, let's present the committee. Like I said, my name is Jay. To the my left, the folks at home, your ahead, I guess. The Captain Tight Pants, Mr. Universe, the Millennium Falcon, the making love to my GoPro camera right now, sexiest man alive, the king of editors, co-host and co-founder, Michael J. Covino.
Good evening, everybody.
What's up?
What's happening?
Well, nothing. You were happening. Across the table, right now, holding the GoPro camera, the Reverend. He likes vitamins. He is currently, I don't know what he's doing with that. It's kind of creepy. Yeah, that guy. The Reverend Al Scarden.
Greetings.
And over here, the sounds of Sherwood himself, the bearded one. That's your phone. Yeah, I got you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The Red Warlock, co-host and co-founder, the Professor, John J. Feathers.
Good evening.
And I am Banana Jones. Let's move right along
I
here.
love this Christopher Walken.
It's so good.
So good.
You like it?
So good.
I worked hard on it. Wow, guys. Let's do. What's next?
That was Sean Connery.
Arms. Hi.
Hi.
Arms. Let's present Arms.
Trebek.
Your mother Trebek. With me this evening, as always, is the M&P 9mm Performance Center shield, and as you can see, it is clear and empty.
Woo-hoo.
As always?
As of the
As
last
of
few
late.
weeks.
As
As of late.
sometimes.
As sometimes.
As of most of the time.
I am presenting
As of
Dan
late.
Weston, 44, as always.
Oh, dude, do it.
Close up.
No.
That's a good one.
It is.
That's a good one.
Get that spoon.
I am presenting, as usual, the Browning High Power Mark III, the classic. And as you can see,
Daddy like
empty and clear.
And as usual, also, the, I was going to call it the shield, the XDS 3.3 in 45 ACP. And as you can see,
It is
it is
clear.
clear.
All right, now I have to hold the, as they say, hold the phone. I do have a few things to discuss this evening. I know my spiel has been a little.
Did we have any feedback last week for missing the spiel?
No, not that spiel. Actual spiel.
Did we have any feedback last week on the GoPro? We didn't get active with it last
No,
week.
we didn't. I couldn't even get turned on at that point. My first note here is, for better or worse, we're officially paid for another full year.
Woo!
A super huge thank you goes out to all of the Patreon members who, if I am not mistaken, I am pretty sure made that entirely possible. So our dues were up yesterday, as a matter of fact, and I got an email that said, "Hey, we took $135 from the card." Well, it was their card. And I went, "Hey, Mom, what's your PayPal?"
Yeah,
There you go. So we are officially paid up.
that's nice.
And again, thanks to everyone.
So they're going to have to put up with us for at least another year.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, at this point, we're
Bad news.
Sorry.
we're straight profit now. We can start buying bottles. We are speaking of bottles. Jeremy Nixon, Whisketeer and fellow Patreon member, messaged me yesterday, and he said, "Hey, I saw this post on Facebook. I contacted them on your behalf, and I said that you'd be dropping them a line. Here's the thing.
Drop them a line.
Go get them." So I sent a message to Kim McLaughlin at McLaughlin Distillery. They have tasting parties, and they said that they were free tasting parties. And I said, "We want to host a free tasting party."
I like free tasting.
And
Free tasting parties are awesome.
we got down to brass and tacks, and she said, "Well, it's kind of far. How many people did you have in mind?" I said, "What's your magic number?" She said, "We need about 30 to 40 people." I said,
We can do that.
So I said, let me make the posts. Let
Said
me
Hold my whiskey.
hold my dram. So for those of you out there who are interested in having a tasting party with us with all of the, I don't know, maybe not all, but a good showing from the McLaughlin Distillery, which I believe is out towards Pittsburgh somewhere.
I don't know enough about them, but
I don't either.
I would like to know more.
Jeremy told me where it was located. I said, look, dude, I don't even know where that is, let alone try to pronounce it.
Yeah.
It's like some weird little town. But so that's what we're doing. If you are interested in having a tasting party with us, let us know, whether it's on that original Facebook page, or whether it's, our email address, any kind of social media, get at us, tell us that you want to be a part of it. And please don't tell us you want to and then back out of it, because if she shows up and there's like 10 of us, they're going to be mad.
So she would come to us.
Yeah,
Yes,
they
okay.
would come here.
That's what I was curious, because I didn't know if we could get
and that's the
40
other
people to
thing. Like,
travel.
I don't even know where we would put that many people at this point. Like
Ryan
We'll
sounds-
find a
We would
place.
have to rent a place.
Yeah.
But I mean, if they're providing the whiskey,
so.
Yeah.
put the bill for.
But yeah, so if you are interested, please let us know. We would
Jeremy
like
said
to
it's
do
in
this.
Sweckley.
Sweckley?
Sweckley.
Yeah, see, he knows what it is. So check it out. We would love to do this, and we would love you to be a part of that. So let us know. We're in if you are. What do I have next here? I made a post earlier in the week saying that I've discovered a glitch in the SoundCloud matrix, and it would, like, if I would get the show notes typed up, Mikey loads the episode, I go in and edit it and give it the title and add the show notes, and then it still remains private. That's great. As soon as I hit go public, it erases all the show notes.
How's
So
that been
there- I
happening
have
for
no-
a while?
6-7 episodes worth,
Oh,
but they
yeah.
were scattered. So it wasn't like if it was one of those, as soon as I hit the show notes and then hit public, fine. But if I had it preloaded waiting for a certain time to make it public, then it would just all vanish.
Oh,
So I did go back through and add all the missing show notes.
you're
So
awesome, Jay.
for anyone who's was really upset that the show notes were gone, I took care of you. And speaking of Jeremy Nixon, I got one more point here, and I have the show note titled "Elephant in the Room" warning. Jeremy finally picked his Tier 2 Patreon member reward. He gave us a topic that he wants us to talk about, and he wanted to know like the history of the mint julep in lieu of the Kentucky Derby that was happening at at the end of April, beginning of May, something like that.
I think it's May.
Yeah, so I think it's the first week of May.
I think he has a party too.
Yeah, I kind of had to say I don't know if I'm going.
See how you are?
Yeah.
I think I'll go.
You should go.
Yeah, I think I'll
So he wanted to know about that and have us talk about the history of the julep in association with the Kentucky
4th.
Derby,
May 4th.
May 4th.
I think.
But I
That's a
also
good guess.
wanted to. He said that because we've talked about this several times, whether or not we actually wanted to do a whiskey mixer episode.
Oh,
As far as
inevitable.
Yeah. So we
It's
figured
raised
that
its head multiple times.
now's as good a time as any, and
Talk
hopefully
about eyeballs.
we can try to plan and maybe to have one or two different whiskey drinks here. If anybody wants to be a mixologist,
Let's cook Brian Fresh back in here. We'll do a taste test on some mixed drinks.
Oh,
be
geez.
fresh, calling you out, man.
Yes,
Let's do it.
that's a good idea.
Speaking of classic,
Jeremy could come.
classic whiskey mix. Jay talking take two. Classic whiskey mixers.
Yeah.
You know we have social medias.
Wow.
Wow.
Now, getting out of it this week, listeners.
We have, for those of you who live under a rock and don't know what we're about, we have a Facebook page, we have an Instagram, we have a Twitter, we have the regular email, which is WednesdayNightWhiskey@gmail.com. We have a site that if you're feeling down and out about yourself, it's a pay site.
I have a pace.
If you're feeling down about yourself, the best way to pick yourself up is with some fresh ass swag. We have a bunch of it. If you go to www.redbubble.com/people/Wed Night Whiskey, you will find our little store where you can buy T-shirts, wall clocks, drawstring bags, whatever the hell you want. I think that people are going to be sick of
I was
that
gonna
camera.
say-
Is this live?
No.
Okay.
That's
Um,
making everybody sick.
Making sure this doesn't see the light of day. That's
So if you want to pick up some Wednesday Night Whiskey swag, please do so. You missed a good deal on Monday. If you're not following our Facebook page, you could have saved 20% this week. It's a good call. Check that out. Basically, anything that you purchase, we get a little cut of that, which goes to the aiding in. Like I said, we just paid our yearly fee, hosting fee. Every little bit helps. We really appreciate everything you guys do for us. So get yourself a T-shirt, send us a pic in it, we'll post it on our page. Speaking of giving us money, there's a thing that's out there on the net. I don't know if you've heard about this. It's a thing. It's a website.
I've heard of it. I definitely don't know how to spell it.
When you go there, you get on your keyboard and you type in www.patreon.com, and what you do is I just hit my activity ring. Check that out.
Activity.
They're close.
Jamie Lee Curtis is on her
Yes. I just got a spread. You can go to Patreon and give us a donation. Basically, what happens is your donation. Well, like I said, it goes directly to us. It funds us. It helps us with all the costs of the show, whether it be Voss Waters, whether it be gear, Voss's boss, whether it be some of that triple wood spoilers.
That is a big spoiler right there.
That's fine.
That's all right.
But,
They won't see it till afterwards.
No. So please go ahead and go to the Patreon. Give us a donation. It's a reoccurring donation. It happens every time we post a show. It can be as little as $1, and trust me, if all the 530 people who liked our Facebook page only donated $1, that'd be a lot of money per episode.
$530.
Yeah,
What? Dude,
How do
you
you
and
do it? How do you
Well,
do
how
that?
do you do it?
he does it all the time.
It's crazy.
Fantastic.
I don't know. Let's do it. I don't know how to do
Wow.
it.
Oh yeah, we have a Reddit page too,
Yeah.
somewhere.
Where do you get
Sure
your
do.
underwear?
Christmas.
Okay.
Where do you get your underwear? Christmas.
Christmas tree.
Christmas.
Christmas tree.
Christmas.
Underwear and socks show up. They ask you something else.
I thought you might be a prodigy.
No.
You might be a redneck.
Yeah.
If you get your underwear for
Yeah,
Christmas,
but if you
you might be a
I
redneck.
think we proved right.
I'm done. We have a Reddit
Coffee.
page. Check that. Screw coffee. Let's move right along here to
The whiskey.
the whiskey, which I am very excited
Let's
about.
read the back of the bottle.
We have.
Two.
We're not going to do like a full history on this because we have dealt with this company once
We
before,
have done it already.
but not for this particular version, which is. I'll just let Jason do it. Jason.
This is the Lafroig Triple Wood, which is triple matured in ex-bourbon barrels, quarter casks, and finally in fine European oak to create a subtle marriage of peat, wood, and a touch of sherry sweetness. So yeah, they use 3 different types of barrel to age and then blend this peat smoked liquid, signature peat smoke. First maturation in hand-selected ex-bourbon barrels, then the 19th century style quarter cask to impart extra depth and fullness, and finally the large size of the European oak cask, and it even lets us know, known as butts.
There it is.
They stick it in European butts after that to allow for a slow maturation, all leading to a soft, complex, and fully rounded flavor. I'm looking forward to this. This is one of my faves.
Let's get some glasses up in here.
Yeah, let's do it. Plug us up, buddy.
Glug, 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 glug.
That's a subtle,
Yeah,
nice.
it's
Of course, it's
silent glug.
yeah, it's a silent glug.
The G is silent.
That would just be it.
That'd be the Lefra.
I already gave him one.
Oh,
Oh,
what's
hi.
up? Hey,
Hey, help yourself.
help
Hey.
yourself, buddy.
I want that one. It's forward.
Okay.
No, it's fine.
Actually, you're right.
You can hit me, dude.
Are you ready to drink this week?
Yeah, yeah, you can hit me.
You're not
He's
sick
feeling
this
better.
time?
Oh, okay.
Well, it's also Lafroig Triple Wood.
It's not McAllen.
No, and I mean, like blackjack. Go ahead, hit me.
Hit me with the tater tot.
Oh,
Far away.
Mm. Oh, this is the nose right here.
this dude. Oh,
You guys can have your McAllen.
oh,
The nose.
good lord.
But there's only one. Well, okay, two.
I'm counting 3. 1 for each wood. Speaking of which, I think I've got wood.
Speaking of triple wood, I count
Speaking
1
of-
and 2.
It's at least 2 here. I'm smelling that fine European butt right now. Good lord, though.
Before we toast the Patreons,
Yes.
before we get to rating this, I want to mention a friend of mine last night was on an NBC, I believe it's NBC show, The Voice. Jimmy Mowry. I went to
Yeah.
school with him. He's been working really hard for this.
Friend
I mean,
of my wife's family, too.
yeah. he's an awesome kid. Like I said, I went to school with him, and I've been friends with him for a while. And just to see him finally get his shot was really cool. I told him, basically, I know nothing about the show. I've said that to multiple people, but it seemed like everyone was happy with the results. So I'm assuming something good happened. I think it was just the,
He went with Adam Levine, right?
yeah. From, like I said, from everything that I gathered,
They're going to get tats together.
I think they're going to get stomach tattoos together.
I hope, dude, you should tell Mr. Maurer to get an actual Gibson tattoo.
And tell him to get dropout high across the stomach.
We could do that. So yeah, I just wanted to toast to Jimmy.
Let's toast him.
because
That's
that's really awesome.
It
I'm
is.
proud of the kid.
I'm still nosing.
Man, get in there with your mouth.
What a
though.
sweet peaty nose. Sweet Pete. Look at Jay.
I love it.
Oh, do you really?
I love the triple wood.
That surprises me a little bit. Better than regular Lefroy.
Absolutely. Like I have in my collection, I have a bottle of Lefroy, just a regular 10-year, just to say that I have it.
See, I love the regular Lefroy as well.
Yeah, the triple wood's where it's at. Al came to see me one night at
That's right.
what's the name of it? Woodside in
Woodside Inn.
the Woodside Bar and Grill in Johnstown. And he walks up and he hands me a glass. I said, "All right, hey, cheers!" And I went, "Whoa!" And as soon as I looked at him, I said, "Is that triple wood?" And he goes, "Mm-hmm,"
Mm-hmm.
which was also funny because then my mother's like, "What's on fire?"
Mm-hmm.
I smell smoke.
I smell smoke.
Mm.
Oh, that is the odd thing, though. From the first one I had, the amount of the characteristic of the smoke isn't as bold or
No,
as that other one.
I have
The
noticed
very
some
first one.
variation. The when I was introduced to this at Mr. Hayford's house, it definitely had a different characteristic to that particular bottle. They're all good though.
get your nose on that right there. Hello, Lefroy. Fantastic stuff. No, we are going to have a rating because it's a new whiskey. Technically, it's a new whiskey.
Yeah, it is.
I want to go back on the Wayback Machine. Because
Get that little bit of oil on it.
I
Mhm.
think that was one of the last.
There's a little bit of oily peaty.
One of the last things I wrote down. Okay, so I gave it the lag at 90. I don't know if it's in there. No, I never did get that far. I gotta go to my phone.
This whiskey chews well.
It does chew very well. It's very caramel, very creamy.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I kind of have like a taste for this, a way better than what I had when we first started this show. I'd like to go back and try the Highland Park again.
I think
Maybe
you might.
not quite. I don't know that I'd be down for.
It's not as smooth.
No.
I
But
did like that though for the price.
I did too. For the
I-
price, I thought it was quite good.
you know what, though? I mean, I don't remember what I paid for it. I want to say it might be $50, $60.
Highland Park.
Yeah.
I thought it was like $20.
No.
What?
I thought it was closer to 30.
No. It's more than that. I'd have to go look again. But like I said, that kind of price point,
Yeah,
I'd much rather have this.
Highland Park Lefroy. There's no.
Let me
Question.
open up my show notes here. Because I want to know what I rated the regular Lefroy. I have to go back into the actual show notes that are where's it at? Lefroy 10, 75. Okay.
What did I give it?
You gave the regular Lefroy a 97. Mikey gave it a 90. And I wasn't rating yet. So, are we ready to rate?
Rate it up, gems.
Ready to rate?
So I gave the regular Lefroy a 75. I'm not not really that into the regular Lefroy. Sorry, guys. But this stuff I really, really enjoy. This would probably be if I knew I was going in and I wanted a Smoky Peaty and I just couldn't afford a Lagavulin if the 8-year wasn't available, that kind of deal. This would be my go-to. I rated Lagavulin a 90. This gets an 85.
Okay.
I haven't had a lot of experience with the Smoky Peaty brands. This is the second time I've had the Triple Wood, and I've enjoyed it both times. I give it an 87.
Mike.
So I love this. This was a Christmas present from Brian Fresh, listener of the show. Thanks, Brian. And it was one of those whiskeys that came highly recommended.
I never
Mr.
mentioned
Feathers here. Yes, you have. And so it was one of those things where it was talked up, but it was also one of those things where it actually lived up to the expectations because I've had the 10-year. I love the 10-year. I love the Smoky Peaty, but I was told this is smoother, which it is.
It
It's
is.
more complex, which it is. And it's just, to me, it's the perfect sipping scotch if you like that Smoky Peaty. It's got that perfect blend of being very mellow when it has to be. It's not going to knock your socks off, but it also has a tremendous flavor, and it's got a little bit of heat to it. It's got a little bit
A
of
little bit
burn,
of
Yeah.
but it's just like you guys were saying, it's creamy, and it's just the perfect texture for me, perfect complexity to just sit down, pour yourself a glass, leave
You
the
know
ice out.
what I wish I had right now, and I don't. Don't know why, because like the aroma is just so rolled around in my mouth. I'd love to have a reason right now.
Just give me a reason.
no, the candy,
Oh,
the dark chocolate
reason.
reasons.
Dark chocolate reason.
Yes, I like to have that rolling around right now, along with the smoky creamy of the Lefroy. Somebody bring me a reason.
Quickly.
Give
now.
you-
Here we are. I'll give you a reason.
I'm going to give it a 93.
I don't want to look at him. I want to make him wait for it. So I'm going to look at him. He's going to go
And then
94.
Well, you think? You think that's where I'm going?
Maybe.
95.
We are figuring out the average as we speak, which I'm pretty sure
I,
is going to be a 90.
I'm impressed with how I've had 3 different samples of this now, I believe. Maybe 4. And every time I have noticed a good variation in the flavors and complexity. I think this whiskey really shows the wood.
Mm-hmm.
Like it really I think the characteristics of the barrel really come out in this whiskey quite a bit.
Yeah.
What's up, Kevin?
Hey, Kevin. Yeah, so I think that it's very interesting to me. I've definitely noticed, a lot of difference in each sample. Now, given I've had a small sample size overall, but in what I've had, it's definitely shown some variation.
Mhm.
And I think that I just like the fact that this whiskey, the wood definitely changes each batch quite a bit, but it's always complex and smooth, creamy, oily, peaty, smoky.
You've subscribed to me.
I know.
And Banana Jones.
Not Jones. Yeah, this is fantastic.
Shazam.
That's awesome.
Shazam!
Shazam! Flash, damn it!
Zachary Levi over here sitting on my couch.
Mm.
I don't know what that means.
That's the guy playing Shazam in the movie of the shirt you're wearing.
Shazam in the movie of the shirt you're wearing.
And Shazam was actually Captain America in the original.
Are you familiar with Giuseppe Andrews' recorded output of songs?
No.
You should be.
Okay. I'll write it down.
I'm just going to throw that out there
Wow.
for any readers
Giuseppe.
or listeners. Giuseppe Andrews? You know Giuseppe Andrews?
No.
What a real
I
piece
love-
of paper.
I love that fucking guy.
How old school?
He's writing it down on some paper towel.
Well, I won't forget it because I'll just go to wipe my mouth and be like,
Oh yeah,
Giuseppe
Giuseppe
Andrews.
Andrews. The problem is his best work is now you have to pay for it.
I'm not going to.
Me either. But I mean, if you can ever come across like Raw Cheese or We Are the Cosmos, those are the best.
Shazam was actually Captain Marvel before becoming Shazam. Kevin Seacrest.
That is
Ah,
That is actually
it's,
correct. But actually, we're not even talking about Shazam. So
Let's rate. Are we going to recommend?
wish I had a
it?
GoPro right now. I could see
Yeah,
this.
I already wrote all that down.
we
Uh,
give it all
yes,
the stars.
Yeah, we all gave it
Stars.
stars. 4 out of 4 stars. We all recommend it. Let's move on
Go buy some
and bring it to
and
us.
buy us some.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
this could. Hey, I would never mind this being a repeat whiskey.
No.
Just to let anybody know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would like to know if the listeners have had it and what they think of it.
Yeah, let us know.
Give us your feedback. And if you don't like it, we will take it off your hands.
We'll properly
sure.
dispose of them.
We're properly,
Yeah.
definitely needs to be properly disposed of.
So that's cool. Let's move on to discussion number 1, which I got to rearrange here because what I thought was what it was is no longer what it was. But Al has a list here, which is the top something or other of something.
Exactly.
Very specific.
Pretty vague.
Very,
Yeah,
very specific. Today's list will be the top something
the
of
20
something or other.
The X number of reasons why bourbon is more than a hobby.
It's more than what?
A
It's more than a
hobby.
hottie?
Hobby.
Oh,
Like a
Like a
hobby
hobby.
horse.
yeah.
A lobby hobby.
Like a hottie horse? That's
Oh,
something
hobby.
else.
Hobby Lobby?
hobby
Hobby
lobby.
Lobby.
Oh.
Not on
Hobby.
Sundays.
Not on Sundays.
No, this is true.
Him and Chick-fil-A get together and party.
Not on Sundays, they don't.
That's when they party.
That's what you think. How many reasons are we going to get?
We'll give you like 10.
Okay.
10 reasons. Because Jay wants a reason.
That's
Oh.
right. Here's your,
And so
here's
here's
your
10,
reason.
10 of them.
Segue.
Here's your reason,
See if,
buddy.
yeah, see how your
I
mouth
can't
goes.
believe we missed that. Your Segway machine is off tonight.
You communicate with people in bourbon groups online more than you do real friends. That
That's
would be
not-
reason number 1.
I mean,
These are 10 reasons why bourbon is more than just a hobby.
do you find yourself doing that? I mean, I do definitely.
Yeah.
Really, more than real people, I don't.
No.
Because I
I mean, not that they aren't real people; they're real
Yeah.
people somewhere. They're just
mean, I don't.
Hope they're all not, just
all
internet bots, exactly.
bourbon bots.
Yeah.
See, I don't get on those because I think everyone's just too full of themselves.
No, absolutely they are.
I can't stand it. I just
Um,
enjoy toxicity when they can.
But no, as far as like, I mean, if you look at the total friend count I have on Facebook, it's staggering. But like, how many of those people do I actually talk to regularly? It's a very small number.
Right.
So yeah, in that instance, I do talk more to people in that chat room because I don't have to know them.
Before we continue, speaking of real friends, can we please toast our Patreon members?
Freaking A right.
Let's do that because I completely forgot. And I
Remember
wanna
that
do
time we forgot to toast the patron members?
We-
Not this time, because
Got
Mike
no more.
remembered.
That's right. So we have. Oh, you have to remind me. I'll throw it to you at the end.
Okay.
We have Patreon members. We have Mario Ciccarella.
We got him.
We have Ryan Weaver.
Got him.
We got Rick Words.
got him.
We have Shannon Hoffman.
got her.
We have the Cosmic Road Show.
Definitely
We have
that.
Jeremy Nixon. And we have
Scott the whole Shamil. No.
the whole show.
Shamil.
His walking is perfect.
It's
So-
really good.
So good.
Tell me what you did with that uncomfortable hunk of metal again.
I'm stuck on my.
Really good.
Cheers to all you. Thank you once again for making our podcast
A
dreams
podcast.
a podcast dreams come true.
Podcast.
Our hodgepodge cast.
Podcast. That's what it
Um,
is.
But yeah, thanks guys, and
We saw everything.
let's get back to Al's list here.
Number 2.
Number 2, you stare blankly at your bottles for 10 minutes trying to figure out what you want to drink. I have had that.
I've
occur.
done that actually.
Yeah.
I've done
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Sorted around.
I've done that. Jay, have you done that?
His
Especially when
bottles.
There's no Lagavulin in there.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's a clear distinction, but sometimes you want to save it too.
I'll nurse a bottle. This hasn't been my nursing bottle.
Right.
Couldn't tell.
Number 3, your local FedEx employees think you're an artisanal vinegar producer.
I don't think that happens.
I don't think that applies to Pennsylvania.
You're not allowed to ship alcohol.
I know, but I don't think. Yeah, I don't buy my whiskey FedEx.
Well, you would sell it. We're not allowed to sell, being Pennsylvanians.
Right. So this one doesn't apply to us, Pennsylvania.
Well, maybe. Actually, I do know of somebody that I can't say who, but yeah, they put on the invoice. It's specialized oil, yes, cooking oil.
It is.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
cook with it.
Yeah,
It's absolutely
Yeah.
It's special.
especially if it's the triple wood.
I like that idea.
You choose your drinks. Number 4, you choose your drinks at the bar based on secondary prices. No,
What's that reference? What do you mean?
just reading down
No, but what does that mean? Secondary prices.
secondary prices. I have a bottle of not Weller's that I won in the lottery.
Wellers.
Yeah, it's not the Wellers. It's the L Wellers LWL edition. I can't think of what it's called right now.
Still Wellers.
It is. But it's a heavily weeded version, and it lists for $85. Secondary market is $700. So, I guess that's what they're looking at. Is
I don't make any choices based on that.
no.
Yeah, me either.
Clearly, if I need it to explain to me what it is, I don't make any decisions based on it.
I'll just take 2 of those. 5. You post reviews to Facebook and Instagram. Well, I'm not on Instagram, but yes.
Me either.
I mean, technically, we
Facebook,
post
yeah.
them to both because we post our show.
Right.
We
Yeah.
review them on our show.
So we totally
So
do that.
technically, you kind of do.
Yeah.
I guess for us, bourbon is definitely more than a hobby, just right off the bat.
No, I think Scotch for us is more than a hobby.
we do.
It's
bourbon.
about
Bourbon.
50-50.
We do bourbon.
And a
We
fair
do
number
it.
of rye.
I'm not saying
Rye
we
keeps
don't.
on jumping in there every 2 months.
Well, yeah, because rice is superior.
Well, it
We
is
do
Pennsylvania, Number 6.
We are heavy-handed. I mean, there's no doubt. There's a weighted.
Oh. For those scoring at home, number 6. Your phone has more photos of whiskey on it than it does of your family.
No, I make my kids hold the bottle.
There you go, 2 birds.
Excellent.
2 birds.
That way you can disprove that one.
Right.
Number 7. You open Facebook and the first thing you see is a post about bourbon or whiskey.
That's
Yeah,
a lot.
that's-
That's a lot. It is.
Number 8. You all know the acronyms for the industry terms, which actually I don't know any of these. BIN, SAOS, PVW.
We don't know those.
No, I actually don't know one of these terms.
Skip.
So that one doesn't.
Hard pass.
Number
From a
9.
friend.
No, it could be from a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was from a friend question. Number 9. You stop at every liquor store you pass, every single one. Well, you would if you wouldn't pass it,
That's more of a problem.
Yeah, that's
I think
that's
means you're
more than
not
a hobby.
alcoholic. Yeah.
Well, you have to check them.
that's
When-
top 10 reasons bourbon is a problem.
That's that meme I posted.
No,
Like,
it's
hey,
fake.
look, don't give me a shitty look because you're if you don't want to,
Right.
you know, I mean, you're buying booze at 9 a.m., then don't open at 9 a.m.
Right.
Number 10. You're in groups on Facebook that have nothing to do with bourbon with all your bourbon friends.
No.
No.
That was a good top 10.
That was a
I think
decent.
It's time to put a cork in it. Only because it's applied to 0.
And there's 21, so there's 11 more to go some other day.
Mm-hmm. And now, reasons 11 through 21.
Okay, so
No, that's kind of cool though. Like some of them, yeah, sure, but most of them, I don't know.
Some of them do apply, for
Yeah.
sure.
If any of them apply to you at home, let us know. Mikey's got some interesting talk going on
Yeah, I
right
kind
now.
of just wanted to discuss with you guys an event that happened this weekend.
Is this in the show notes?
It is.
Okay.
So, as most people know, I'm a big fan of Magic the Gathering, which is
Oh, yeah. I know.
it's a collectible card game. It's got a really big community and it's growing because they just started an online platform, Magic Arena. So Wizards of the Coast, who owns Magic the Gathering as well as Dungeons and Dragons and a couple other IPs, they dumped a ton of money into Magic. They put a ton of money into the pro scene. I think it was something like $10 million for the last tournament that happened. So it's real money. And what that means is that Magic players can actually make a career out of it rather than having to hold a job as well as try to go to tournaments on the weekends and play out these tournaments. But this past weekend, there was what equates to the Super Bowl of Magic. Every year there's what's called a Pro Tour. It was called a Pro Tour. Now it's called the Mythic Championship since they did their rebranding.
Mm-hmm.
So they did their Pro Tour, which is, like I said, it's the Super Bowl of Magic. Not only is the prize payout huge, but also it's where the best of the best compete. So you will have players who will compete in this tournament, and that's all they want to do is win the Pro Tour. Actually, to make it to the top 8 players left is an extremely high honor. That's actually kind of how you're judged in the Magic community, is how many Pro Tour top 8s you have. Like I said, now it's called the Mythic Championship. So the reason I bring this up is because the individual that won the first Mythic Championship, but the last Pro Tour that just happened, was someone who identifies as non-binary. They are a trans individual named Autumn Burchett. Yeah, Burchett from England.
First Brit, I believe.
First person from England to win the trophy, but also obviously the first non-binary individual to win. The reason why I wanted to discuss this with you guys is not because of the way that they identify, but because it is a talking point. So what I mean by that is the whole Magic community went nuts when they won. I kind of was more impressed with the way that they played because, like I said, it's a huge, huge event. You don't just luck into winning that.
No.
And a lot of people are kind of dismissing it as the fact that they won, kind of getting all the breaks. But
you can't.
They were piloting their deck like a magician, and people were like watching and being like, "Well, they just saw the play that was like 5 moves in advance when I would have done this," and they looked in the future and saw this play. And the only thing people are talking about is the fact that they're non-binary. And I just wanted to discuss that with you guys. And I don't know that this is something that relates to other, I guess you could call them esports or other real sports, like physical sports. Do you think that the way that they identify should overshadow their accomplishments? Because it seems like in this particular instance, it has.
Yeah.
See, I'm glad you brought that up because I have to admit to you that when you brought that up as a show topic, I looked up a few articles and read them to see what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And being familiar with the way that works, never been a big Magic player myself, but being around Lord knows how many people I know that are, and, watching different tournaments, and documentaries and stuff, seeing how it happens. The first thing I honestly thought was, well, good for that person.
Yeah.
And we've had a few people chime in with some of our previous discussions that for people with, let's just say, vulnerable identities, they feel good about having certain role models that they can look up to.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that's really good. And I thought, good for this person. But for the life of me, I could not particularly understand what anyone's sexual orientation would have to do with winning a Magic tournament.
That's the bingo
Mhm.
right there, because I think that, like you were mentioning, we've talked about this in the past, and it's always been a discussion of competing for a men's sport or a women's sport.
Right,
But
right.
Magic is not gender exclusive.
No.
No.
Like, I could sit across the table from a woman and we'd be playing the same game. So sure, there's a discussion when it comes to weightlifting or when it comes to skiing or
Yeah.
wrestling or whatever. Who has the advantage when it comes to being non-binary, transsexual, whatever. But when it comes to this type of situation, it has nothing to do with that.
There's
And
no bearing. It's a level playing field.
yeah, and just watching the finals, watching the last few rounds of this tournament, you will see some of the best play that you'll ever see in that particular format, and you probably won't find any of that in the articles that you read.
No. I
I think that has a lot to do with what we talked about last week with just modern marketing.
Yeah,
It's a poor way to go about trying to get attention to something where I'm sure that they wouldn't even want it.
well,
You know,
that's
that-
not
that-
necessarily true.
Well, I don't mean like they don't want the attention,
well
but
here's
they want the other attention that they should be receiving, not that it's because that they're non-binary. and
here's what I
transgender.
thought was
Sure.
good.
Yeah.
About it. And we've had a few listeners, more than one, chime in about how when they were, I think it came up during the Star Wars discussion, hey, when I was a little kid, having this particular person to look up to, helped mold me and shape me. And those are things that I particularly have not thought much about in my life, per se.
we can't relate to that.
Yeah, and I don't really. My identity is pretty strong and not wrapped up too much in a lot of those kinds of things per se, so I don't care as much, I guess. But for other people, I saw where they do.
Yeah.
And here's I don't know if this was looks like a tweet that Autumn Burchett posted. She said, or it's I don't
They.
even know
They.
they.
Yeah, it's-
Well, I guess it's in the post later.
Yeah.
Full on ugly cried for like 5 minutes after reading this. If me being out and achieving things makes even one trans person feel more able to come out and be themselves, that is just everything. And that's in response to a post by somebody named Jess Beasley, who wrote, I'm a little bit cry over at Autumn Lily MTG winning and their excellent interview, hoping that somebody in their LGSs get to say, my pronouns are they/them, like Autumn. So here's somebody that was obviously important
Yeah.
to.
Mhm.
And I still think that's good to have role models. I just, like you said, I don't understand what it had anything to do with winning Magic the
Yeah.
Gathering tournament.
Yeah, it's tough because it puts you in that weird limbo whether you want to acknowledge it because it's there or if you want to ignore it because it has no bearing on the tournament.
And there's,
So I mean, I get the limbo there.
there's a certain point where it would almost become offensive to me, depending on how far down. And I don't mean offensive to me that they did it. I mean, like, if I was a minority
Yeah.
and they did it, like if they said, like, oh, hey, check out the African American guy won, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I would feel like, why are you exploiting that about me?
Yeah.
I feel that there's a line that you could cross where it almost gets
And to be
exploited.
fair, I think that the commentators and everybody on the coverage for that event handled it perfectly because they tread the line where they weren't like bringing it up every 5 minutes. They didn't skip a beat by saying like miss saying like he or she.
Yeah.
It was they the entire time. They weren't bringing it up ever until she or they would bring it up in the interviews.
Right.
And I thought that they did a perfect job. Whereas, like you said, in some sports and some events, they'll just drive it home. They'll just
Right.
say like, "Well, this is the first, I don't know, Hispanic individual to ever compete on
Yeah.
the ice hockey rink," and it's just like, it doesn't matter. They're still professional hockey players.
Right.
So I don't know. It's not a huge deal, but I did want to bring it up and discuss with you guys because these were my feelings on it. I didn't know if you felt on the opposite end of the spectrum as I did on it, or what.
No,
I think it's good they have them. as role models.
Yeah.
If it's somebody who feels they need one, I don't understand the relevance.
Yeah.
Did it?
Agreed.
Cool. Well, speaking of other things that happened this weekend, let's segue into our other discussion topic that
Ooh.
I know Jason wanted me to bring up just very briefly. And Jay, when we were talking about things to talk about, he was like, "Do you want to talk Oscars?" And I really don't, because it was just overall a very mediocre Oscars.
I want to do
on Sunday.
something. A huge shout out to Vigo though for finally taking home an Oscar.
Maybe finally. Return of the King won an Oscar?
Talking Ghostbusters 2, brother.
Oh.
Is this a
Vigo the
meme?
Carpathia.
Hmm.
Never mind.
Okay, anyway.
Apparently, you guys have never seen Ghostbusters
I've
2.
seen it.
I
It just
haven't.
wasn't- it just
I haven't.
wasn't
I have
on
not.
my list today.
Oh no.
No.
Okay. Sorry.
I really have not.
So the Oscars came and went, and they went without a host, which was
Yeah, that was a topic we had brought up. How did
people
it
had
go?
said that it was fine. I didn't watch. I didn't care to watch. There was really no movies that I was pushing for this year. I didn't think any of the Best Picture noms really had bearings to be Best Pictures. So it was just one of those things where I just sat it out. But it came and went. The one award that I thought was laughably bad was the Best Editing Award, which I showed you guys the clip. Maybe Jay will throw it in the show notes.
That'd be good.
Bohemian Rhapsody won Best Editing, which was a fine movie, but the editing in the movie was god awful. There's a clip in particular where it's just basically a dialogue scene with the manager and the members
There's
of
20
the band.
cuts.
And there's 20 is very undercutting it. It was probably 50 some cuts in just like a dialogue scene, 20 seconds,
Yeah.
and it was just like bow, 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 bow. Jason said it was like a poorly choreographed fight scene where they just try to make something out of it. And the only reason that I saw online for them winning Best Editing for that film was because they basically put together a film of a directorless movie. So I could see that potentially being the reason why they won Best Editing, because it would be like making a song without a singer.
Right.
So
I didn't know it was directorless.
Me
it
either.
basically was. I think they went through 3 or 4 director changes in the amount of filming that they did.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I haven't
Didn't know
even
that.
seen it. The only thing I've seen of the movie is literally
Yeah.
that scene.
It's a fine. It was a fine movie. But for all the accolades it's won, I don't get it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's just all Rami Malek.
Did you see it?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was great as far as, as a story goes. Yeah, is it historically accurate? No, not close. There's a few blaring issues with that film, but I was able to overlook that with the context of this isn't an actual biopic. It's
not a behind the music. For
no,
Christ's sakes.
it's just a loose leaf
Oh, thanks.
interpretation, and it was good. Like I said,
I
the
love you, Mikey.
the biggest one that I had issue with was, subsequently, it's right around the Live Aid performance, right towards the end of the movie, where supposedly Freddie,
Eddie Munster.
Freddie finds out, he goes and gets himself tested, and he understands that he has AIDS or HIV, and goes to
Round 2.
they're saying that there's some there's a turmoil within the band, and they haven't played together in so many months or a year or two or something, and all of a sudden Live Aid brings them back together. That never happened. And
Getty.
Freddie.
Wow.
I'll get it right.
Getty Mercury.
Getty Mercury.
That's a T-shirt for sure.
He plays bass. He
Keys, everything.
they
Freddie Van Halen.
God, Freddie didn't find out that he had AIDS or HIV until 3 years after the Live Aid performance.
Oh, really?
So they were totally just dramatizing and ramping it up.
Drama queens.
Nice. I'll take that.
Yeah.
It's fabulous, darling. I'll tell you what I am excited for, and not to shift gears, but I want the Rocket Man.
I
That looks
know
awesome.
it
Yeah,
does.
that looks really, really good. The kid that if you've ever seen the animated film Sing,
Mm-hmm.
voiced Johnny the Gorilla, who does an Elton John song at the end, and it's fun.
I've only
it's
seen one
fantastic.
trailer, but I was
He
in.
sang it
I
by
was
himself.
Like, I'm in.
I mean,
It's
it's,
Taron Egerton from Kingsman.
Yeah.
You watch Kingsman? Yeah.
yeah. So they actually, he's the guy. So he's already got the voice for it.
Right.
Now, I don't know. I know, like when it comes to Bohemian Rhapsody, that I don't think Rami Malek had a lot to do with the vocals. It was
He did
mostly
not.
just
It was
overdubbed of
not.
all of Freddie's stuff.
But it wasn't Freddie doing the vocals in that movie. It was forget the guy's name. Chris, I believe it's Chris something. He has a couple
The YouTube
audition
guy?
tapes. Yeah,
Yeah.
He has Freddie Mercury tributes on YouTube. He was on Ellen.
He's pretty
I
good.
did see that guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's in a Queen cover band, which, in my opinion, he should just be frontman and Queen at this point. He's
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
better than whoever the idiot they have now is.
My wife.
Because
Amanda
I mean, he
Lambert.
sounds like Freddie.
Or
I mean, people watching the movie are like, they just
some Lambert.
Adam Lambert.
Jack
Adam-
Lambert?
Adam Lambert. Jack Lambert.
They-
Jack Lambert.
They were saying that it sounded like Freddie in the movie,
Yeah.
but for the fact that it wasn't, that's reason enough for him to be
That
fronting.
right now, I did not know that wasn't Freddie.
Right.
Like I knew it wasn't Rami Malek.
Yeah.
But as far as like this biopic with Elton John, I'm pretty sure that they let kids sing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But you can tell it's not Elton, but
it doesn't matter.
it's pretty close.
It's damn
Yeah.
close. The kid's good.
So somebody told me recently, and God, I hope this is not true. Or is Netflix releasing? Speaking of musical biopics, is Netflix releasing a Motley Crue?
we're not
Yeah.
talking about it.
I said that last week.
Did you say that?
Yeah.
Why? In
It's
God's
called-
name.
It's called The Dirt or something.
Because a lot of people love Motley Crue.
And I don't know why. Motley Crue is terrible.
Wow.
Terrible.
I mean, yes, absolutely.
What's the 80s? What was good in the 80s?
Rush.
A lot, but
Movies, action comedies.
actually,
Comics.
80s movies, dude, are
Nintendo.
Yeah, they stick
Get
right
to the
there.
Choppa.
get to the chopper.
Speaking of 80s movies,
Yeah.
do you guys want to talk about like our top movie soundtracks?
I think we totally should.
I think
Wow.
number 2 mine might be from the 80s.
What do you think? Like maybe a top 5?
Top 5.
Yeah, we
top
can do-
5.
we
can
Can,
do
or can we
four?
can we include scores?
We can. I think we should do soundtracks and scores because
Okay.
it'd be hard for me to come up with 5 soundtracks.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that.
Do we have to do it in order?
I can't do it. I can't do
Okay.
that in order.
I can't either.
Oh,
I have one in order.
Okay, I had them all in order. So.
You're so organized.
How do you put them in order?
Well, you rank.
Well, I ranked them according to what my top 5 was.
And all of yours are soundtracks.
Yeah, they're all soundtracks.
Fuck,
Which I'm super excited for because I don't think I could think of 5 soundtracks I care about. Start us off,
Oh
Jeff.
yeah, go for it.
So, what do you want? Do you want me to start with the honorable mention, or do you want me to start?
Oh, even honorable mentions over here. God,
What?
these look bad. Holy shit.
I know, right? I'm still working on 5.
So let me start with 5. I'll just say that. So number 5 for me, which I was actually listening to it at the store before I left work today, is the Tron Legacy soundtrack.
Daft Punk did that?
Yep, Daft Punk did that whole spiel. Fantastic. I'm not a huge fan of electronica, EDM, that sort of thing. But it doesn't feel like that's what I'm listening to when I listen to that soundtrack. It's just killer. It's very ambient. It feels natural, if that makes any sense. But yeah, and for a guy who, I had never even seen Tron up until Tron Legacy had came out.
Shoot.
I just was thinking that was more of a score than a soundtrack for that one.
Oh,
So I was
is it?
wondering if all of yours were scores or if you just know the difference
No.
between the two.
Okay, so I have a score then.
You have 2.
Do I?
I think Titan AE. Spoiler alert.
Oh,
Whoa.
Oh,
Thanks.
well, there goes that one. I
Oh,
can't
take
take
that off my
my
list.
It's
Shut
not
up.
on your list.
Shot
Al.
all over the tits. You cum.
You come.
But yeah, it's number 5 for me is the Tron Legacy soundtrack.
Okay.
Mine's not in order, but I know I'm bookmarking mine with soundtracks.
Okay.
So one is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy.
You know what? I didn't pick it because I knew you would.
And I don't know if I want to go with one or two, because they both have some bangers on there. I'll go with two. I'll go with Guardians 2, because they've got Brandy, and I know Rick loves
Mhm.
Brandy.
Such a fun girl.
Such a fine girl.
Good wife she
Good
could be.
wife.
Good
she
wife
would
she
be.
would be.
So
Yeah.
for Rick, Brandy.
Brandy with whiskey.
Scotch whiskey.
So I'll call that my number 5. But both movies, fantastic soundtracks.
I'll give you my honorable mention.
Do it.
My honorable mention is the heavy metal soundtrack. Not because
Heavy
it's
Metal 2000.
no, the original.
Oh, they're okay.
Not particularly because it's all that great. There's a few really good tunes on it, and there's some total tripe. But it just, and there's a few times I'll mention this on my list. Doesn't necessarily mean that I think it's a great standalone soundtrack, but I thought that
We've been missing some classic commentary over here on Facebook. Freddie Money. What Guardians of the Galaxy did they make a movie? That was Tim.
it. He knows. He's being a
So,
dick.
okay.
Fucking troll.
And then Rick said, "So effing wrong."
I just want to let everyone know that as much as I enjoy the Eagles, Rick enjoys
Rick
the
loves
song
that song.
Brandy.
He loves that song. The reason being to finish my thing
Sorry.
there is because not because I think there's that great a standalone soundtrack, but it really complemented the movie very well. And for me, that's part of what really, helps make a soundtrack. Al?
Was that your number 5, or was that,
That was my honorable mention.
Yeah, he went to honorable mention.
How's this gonna work now?
Yeah, because that's 5-5 honorable mention.
Jan will go twice.
Jay didn't do an honorable mention.
Yeah.
I'm going to,
He
but,
has one.
but I have one, but I'm not gonna include it in the initial list.
What's your number 5?
Okay. My number 5, and it's actually a good segue, is because like this has the exact same type of scenario with me. I don't particularly love all the songs on it, but as a perfect compliment to a movie to really evoke the right feel at the right scene at the time of the movie is the Boogie Nights soundtrack from 1997.
That is a good one.
Cool.
And that's a soundtrack.
That is. It is a soundtrack.
Think it's from back in the 80s. Romancing the Stone.
Wow.
I know, it's going back there. I went to the soundtrack because I couldn't recall any particular song off of it, but I liked the entire compilation for the movie.
I love it.
But I was just like, I remember it's like, yeah.
I got before I forget, I have a Rick Wirtz list too.
Oh,
He texted me that list, so
well,
we got that one.
is it on your phone?
Yeah.
Well, let's do it after this.
Yeah. You mean after us collectively, or like after the
Collective.
collective? Okay, cool. My turn.
Sure.
Number 4 is Scott Pilgrim versus the World soundtrack. Basically, I'm pretty sure was single-handedly done by Beck. No, I think there was one other. The Metric, I think, was on it too. That's for the Clash of Demon Head song, but yeah, that's kind of like that movie struck a whole lot of chords with me all over the place. And I actually don't own that soundtrack, but I probably hit it more times on Spotify than
Right.
that movie originally had views. So that's my number 4.
So I kind of have the same philosophy with movie soundtracks and scores that Jason was mentioning, because I want it to have a feel that evokes, like when listening back to the soundtrack, I want to remember the feeling I had at certain scenes of the movies.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's probably number 1 if I were to do them in order, but the Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring soundtrack, every time that I'll listen to certain songs from that soundtrack, I'll get goosebumps. I made the big mistake of having the Hobbit theme as my ringtone for alarms to wake up for about 5 years. So now I can't really watch the movie and hear that and not get cringed a little bit, because I'm like, fuck, I gotta wake up and go to work.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't. It's just the movie. But other than that, like, there's just songs that'll make me think, like, this is whenever, I don't know, Boromir dies or shit like that. So it's just I think that it was one of those perfect soundtracks. Just like you create these original compositions that take you to a fantasy world, and much like a couple other films on my list, I think that's integral to making an awesome soundtrack.
Well, much like Mike was mentioning, my number 4 is Howard Shore's Fellowship of the Ring soundtrack that was composed in 2000. So, yeah,
Great minds.
it was
I'm sure
on
we have
there.
others that are on the
It
same
was
list.
on there, so it's my number 4. I actually thought about actually almost just including all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, they were composed between 2000 and 2004. But yeah, I'm with you. The best one is Fellowship.
Yeah.
Best one is absolutely hands down Fellowship.
Staying along the same notes, I guess. A movement, the soundtrack that just encapsulated a period of time for me. Star Trek, The New Hope, whatever it came out, it was everything about the entire concept, the movie.
Star Trek.
Star Wars.
Okay.
I was like,
Star
Little
Trek, The New
lost.
Hope.
Okay, I got
Star
you.
Wars, number 4.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
Yeah, it was, and still is. The soundtrack from that. I mean, as soon as you hear the first opening beats of it, I mean, it puts you right into the tempo of, here comes the TIE fighters. Here comes the
Yeah, absolutely.
Right,
Cool. Number 3, are we on?
We are.
Yeah. Which is the opposite of Mikey. My pick for number 3 is the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack, Volume 1.
There you go.
Yeah, that's just one of those, like, I'm not super into that. I don't even know how to classify that. That just whole
70s saccharine
that 70,
rock.
yeah, that kind of deal. But that soundtrack is just
It's awesome.
top to bottom, is just flawless.
It's really
It reminds me of there's a quasi local radio station around here called Bob FM. If you've never listened to Bob,
good. I have not, but it sounds
Bob
like it
FM
should.
is really, really awesome in the fact that they will play anything at any given time. You
Yeah.
have no idea what you're gonna. I was at a 4th of July party one year, and literally like Master of Puppets starting. I'm like, oh yes, Bob's awesome.
Right.
After that last note of Master of Puppets.
They played Brandy.
No, it was Cyndi Lauper. Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Even
And
better.
I went like, how?
See, that's
But
how
that-
radio should be, though.
But that's part of the
Yeah.
appeal of Bob. Bob FM.
Yeah.
Bob plays anything.
I need to find the call numbers for that station. I'll check it out.
But yeah, that's how that record feels to me, top to bottom. It's one good feel good thing after another.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep, number 3, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1.
For my number 3, I'll do another score. Same thing holds true with Fellowship of the Ring, but Interstellar soundtrack.
Oh, really?
That's a good
Yeah.
one.
I've never seen that either.
Oh my god!
Mm-mm.
Now I love
that
the movie.
McConaughey?
Yeah, I loved the movie. I know a lot of people didn't really care for the movie. They didn't love
It's
the
a good
ending.
movie.
I loved the movie, but I thought the soundtrack for that movie was so powerful. Like there's a scene called the docking scene, and when you watch it, you'll know what scene I'm talking about. Pretty much exactly like that.
I'm
It's
trying
actually
to
funny
grab my-
'cause that's exactly what the scene is of.
Did I tell you I'm trying to
It just
get my
takes 5
foreskin
minutes
back?
because it's in space.
I'm excited about it.
Getting closer.
But the song
Getting
that's played
closer.
during that scene will give you goosebumps, even if you've never seen the
It'll
movie.
make you want to dock.
It's exactly like that. You'll
Yeah.
just want to dock real
It's
hard.
awesome. Real hard.
Just like a rabbit.
Real hard.
Just like 2
It would
rabbits.
be hard to dock, but you're not hard though. To be honest.
I don't know. I'm not real sure.
A
I'll
roll-
work on it. My number 3 is 1968 soundtrack to 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Ah.
Just because of Strauss, man. Just because it was perfectly chosen to convey, like, the Speak Zarathustra, that particular track during that scene. I mean, that's so iconic. You can't get away from it. I mean, when I think of that movie, I hear the opening strains of that song, And there's some other good stuff on there too.
My number. What are we on? 3.
Golden Girls isn't a movie, dude.
That made a
Oh
movie.
man, it wasn't.
It's
wasn't
the Nick at Night cinematic universe.
Oh, okay.
See?
So yeah,
Okay.
Dick
All
Van Dyke's in there with them.
Okay.
So
Actually, yeah, it was Flash Gordon, the Queen.
Oh, you saved every one of us, man.
Every time.
We got a list from Kevin here too, so we got to read.
We got to read it. Yeah.
You wanna?
the Flash.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's right there on your
No,
shirt.
he's wearing a Shazam shirt. Dude.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Motherfucker.
But yeah, that's.
Savior of the universe.
Yeah, I mean, Queen did the all the songs on it,
Mhm.
but yeah,
And it's a badass movie.
and it's
It's not as good when you
very-
rewatch it now.
No, I watched it about 5
But,
years
like,
ago.
you know,
and it's,
when
it
you're
is
like
a little
a-
bit harder to sit
When you're
through
like a
today.
12-year-old boy, though, that movie is.
It rocked. It
Yeah.
really did.
Number 2.
Before I do that, this could be a Patreon exclusive, but I don't. Think
All
But
right.
I don't think it adds up that quite bad. I felt the same way about that Kiss movie.
Kiss Meets the Phantom.
I don't remember what it was. But I know, like, I watched it a lot. Because
Detroit Rock City.
no,
That was actually
yeah, that's the one I
good,
was
yeah.
thinking of.
no, it was that where they
You're talking about the actual movie that Kiss were in.
yeah.
Kiss Meets the Phantom.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Was it, were they like Long Island
Yeah,
Circus?
they were at an
something?
amusement park. or
Yeah.
something,
Okay. So
yeah.
no, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
As a kid, my father, he had that tape, and I remember
That
watching
just
it.
says bad things from the get
Should have
go.
known. You could have left.
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
Right.
I remember watching it at his mother's house. I guess one of my grandmothers, and she never owned a color television.
So you watched this.
So I watched it in black and white and just
Wow.
assumed that it was in black and white. And then when I finally saw it later and it was in color, I went, "What?" Like I had no idea. And then I found out later, how just incredibly bad it was.
That's a crazy story, dude.
I was the same way with One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I
Really?
thought it was black and white forever, and then I had to watch it for a film class, and I was like, "What?"
Wait, it's when they colorize it. It's Ted Turner. What are you doing?
So we're on number 2.
Is it Kiss Meets the Phantom?
It is
Yeah.
not.
I'm gonna piss on you.
Oh.
It is not. Settle down, R. Kelly. No, this one actually goes back for me a long time. Obviously to when the movie came out, but I remember saying before I knew what it was too. Like honestly, I don't even think I've ever seen the movie. But a girl I used to date in high school forever ago, she had the soundtrack, and I didn't know that it was the soundtrack to the movie. I'm like, this is a great mix. Like, what is this? And she says, it's the Dazed and Confused soundtrack.
I didn't put it on because I figured somebody would.
Yeah, for me, like, and I think I've seen enough bits and pieces of it now over the years.
I like that movie. Actually.
It's not a bad flick, but yeah, that soundtrack.
Ironically, Dazed and Confused is not on that soundtrack.
I know.
Yeah.
If you are into the classic era of classic rock and like 70s jam sort of music, that from, like I said, top to bottom, front to back, that album is just, that soundtrack is monstrous.
Yes.
Into
Number 2, Star Wars. Now, mine is actually going to be Return of the Jedi, which is currently not my favorite Star Wars movie, but the first time I saw it, it was because I was a kid. I loved Ewoks. I loved the Forest Moon. I lived in Altoona, Pennsylvania. We have plenty of woodlands
Yes.
here. So it was always fun to run through the woods and pretend I was on Endor. And so I just had such strong emotions when it came to Return of the Jedi. And just like going back and hearing like the different, like the songs, like the final battle song and like the ba 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 ba, like
Yeah.
whenever after they win the victory song, whatever it is. I'll still listen to that soundtrack and it'll just bring me back to those whenever I was a kid and the first time I saw Return of the Jedi. But all 3 of the original trilogy, I could listen to any of their soundtracks and feel something special about any of the, not just like the Luke Skywalker and the Princess Leia themes, which are recurring, but like the Cantina from
Oh
New
yeah.
Hope and Throne Room from Empire. There's just so many really strong standouts from each soundtrack.
Well, they're all fantastic.
I think he knows what he's doing. That John Williams.
You think?
I think
Yeah,
so.
he's done a few movies.
It's not his first rodeo.
It's not his first rodeo in space. Mine is. I'm not going to necessarily classify it as being good music, but I've had so many laughs and so much enjoyment listening to this
Right out of
soundtrack and
UHF.
laughing.
Oh, is it UHF?
It is not
Oh my
UHF.
god! Oh my god! Speaking of Triplewood, I just got so hard.
You're kind of close, though. I'm not going to lie. You're kind of close. It's the soundtrack to This Is Spinal Tap, 1984.
Okay.
All right.
I love every one of those songs. They are pure genius.
Big bottom.
Yeah, talk about mud flaps, man.
Hi, girls. Bottom.
I mean, I'll never forget either, man. I got so pissed off because like I used to have that soundtrack on vinyl, and I lent it to my friend John Flude in high school, and he left it in the back window of his car, and it melted.
Oh,
And, like, I just
man.
got so pissed over that. If you're out there, John, fuck you, man. But anyway,
You're watching John. Go fuck yourself.
but no, I love you, man. But yeah, I don't. It's just that it really brings back a lot of good memories listening to that because I mean, every song is classic and it's super tied to a particular scene in the movie that makes me laugh. So
I'm just trying to think of a way to work into the movie, but I can't, unfortunately. Twister.
Yeah.
Now, there's one particular song, Twister. You ever see that movie?
I don't think so.
You've never seen
you never-
Twister?
I've seen it, but I'm struggling to remember. Was it a soundtrack or a score?
It was
No,
a
there was a-
soundtrack.
No, well, there was only one song from it that always stood out to me, and that was Van Halen, "Human Beings." That particular song, whenever it played at the very
You've never seen Twister?
No, man. I'm totally.
it's-
We're gonna have an intervention.
okay.
Yeah.
I seriously, I
it
don't
was definitely during a thunderstorm. Yeah.
I don't even
Yeah.
think I know.
Yeah, we gotta watch
Is it
Twister.
based on the game?
It's exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of a continuation of Clue.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Clue.
I know what it is. It's the tornado movie. I've seen bits and pieces of it,
Yeah.
like on
I mean,
television.
Bill Paxton's in it, so
I like Bill Paxton.
That's where I got Root often opened with Long Way Down from the Goo Goo Dolls,
Mhm.
which was on that soundtrack, which is where I was most familiar with that song.
Yeah.
So I used to announce it at the show, like, anyone feel a storm coming? Cool.
Mhm.
Number one.
number one.
Numero
Wait,
uno.
what I'm gonna do is my honorable mentions before my number one. Do you want to do the same? So we're on the same page.
Yeah, I can.
You don't have to. It's fine.
I don't want to.
Do you?
Okay, just because mine transitions into what am I listening to this week?
Oh.
So I have to explain it. Now it's ruined. As Mikey spoiled.
Speaking of ruining things, I'm segueing for Jenny tonight. That's great.
Yeah, speaking of ruining things, Mikey called this one out a while ago.
But no one remembers.
We do have a few. We do have to not forget to do some
Yeah.
listener.
My number one top, and I actually listened to it today at work again, is the Titan AE soundtrack. It's a very underrated movie that didn't get the accolades that it deserved. But what an amazing soundtrack from mostly unknown bands. They're the only major band I think that was on that CD at the time was Lit, and that's the weakest song in my opinion on it. I think Jamiroquai is on there too.
Animated. I've never seen it.
Yeah, it was really good.
Mhm.
It was heralded as the movie that Star Wars fans had been waiting for, because it was an animated film, but it wasn't necessarily meant to be a kids' film.
Right.
It was for sci-fi nerds everywhere. One of my favorite movies. A hell of a voice acting cast.
Does it hold up, or is it like one of those nostalgic good
You
movies?
could watch it.
Because I want to watch it. I've
Yeah.
heard good things about
Yeah,
it.
no, it's not a nostalgic piece at all. It actually kind of made one of my dreams come true. I always wanted to see where they're struggle, 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 struggle. Oh, they saved the Earth. You know,
Yeah.
That's how it happens.
Yeah.
the beginning of this movie, boom, Earth blows up, and I went, yes, finally, someone didn't hit the button.
Right.
It blew up. So yeah, no, it was a great movie. But that soundtrack is absolutely killer. It's a little dated now, as far as it has that kind of feel for the time frame, I guess.
Yeah.
But still, every song on there, especially like one of the heavier songs, "Cosmic Castaway," was just great. So, Titan AE number one.
Perfect. So I will do my honorable mentions. As I mentioned, I have two.
Do your honorable
Two.
mentions and then do your one, because I'm on one now.
I will do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then skip me because I want to.
And then we'll do listeners.
Yeah, we'll do listeners.
Perfect.
Awesome.
So I, again, when I thought we were just doing soundtracks, I had to rack my brain, but I did think of two soundtracks which I adore. One being The Warriors. I don't know if you guys...
Dude. Yeah.
Yeah, Warriors soundtrack is just fucking baller. I
It is.
love that.
I don't know
I-
what that is.
Nowhere to run to, baby. Nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
Sing it, Mikey.
I got nowhere. And Drive.
Mm.
So Drive is a very polarizing movie. Ryan Gosling, but I fucking love the soundtrack to that. It is kind of like synthwave type, like that weird 80s era feel, but obviously it came out in the 2000s. So those are my two honorable mentions. But number one, another soundtrack, one of my favorite movies of all time, probably no one else in the world's number one favorite soundtrack, but for me, Wet Hot American Summer. Talked about the movie before on the podcast, but I think that every single song on that soundtrack is perfect, and featuring the likes of Rick Springfield, Starship, Kiss is on there. Just the most beautiful arrangement of the weirdest eclectic songs. A lot of yacht rock on there, which I can appreciate, and it's one of those things where, just like with the Fellowship of the Ring and Interstellar, still hearing those songs takes me to moments in that movie where I'm just losing my mind and I'm just listening to a song. Like when they go to town, the song that's playing, Rick Springfield. As soon as I hear that song, I think about that scene and I'm just like, that's fucking amazing. And I'm just listening to a song. So if you haven't seen Wet Hot American Summer, watch it.
Honestly,
if you have seen it,
I haven't
go
seen
listen
it yet.
to the soundtrack.
Yeah.
It's very underrated. It's a cult movie, but
Right.
it's perfect.
Cool.
I'm going to give one more honorable mention before I give my number one, and that's to an early not a lot of people know this movie these days, but I believe it was an early '90s movie. It was called The Commitments, and it was about an Irish soul band.
Mm-mm.
And there is just, a slew of amazing like R&B and soul hits on it, and there's also a lot of tunes that they did as a band and covered them, and they do some really great versions of some stuff on there. It's a movie worth checking out. Like I said, not many people these days know it, but it's a good movie. And I do have to say that nobody says fuck better than an Irishman. So,
No, that's the honest to God truth.
Fuck off! It's just the greatest scene ever. But that's my honorable mention. But my number one favorite movie soundtrack of all time.
Drum roll.
What's that? What do you think?
Drum roll.
Oh, I thought you were making a guess. No, you could make a drum roll, but it would have to be timpanis for this.
Ooh.
Yeah. Is 1982 Basil Polidoris's soundtrack to Conan the Barbarian. It is just fucking amazing. Anvil of Crom is one of the greatest songs of all time. So, I don't know. If you have not listened to that soundtrack, listen to it. It is one of the most awe-inspiring soundtracks you will ever hear. And it's a score. You will ever hear. Love the movie, hate the movie, whatever. I don't even care. Listen to the soundtrack. It's amazing.
Nice.
I don't have a number one because I only had four. So actually,
out.
So you did have a number one.
I did have a number one. It was the
two.
number two.
All right.
Okay, so let's read some fandom here. With me right now on the text screen, I've got the top 5 for Mr. Rick Wirtz, Patreon member,
Starting with his honorable mention,
Yes, right
which
here.
is
Nightmare Before
Nightmare
Christmas.
Before Christmas,
Nice.
which is pretty awesome.
yeah.
For a pick.
No, I totally forgot.
Yeah.
I know, but dude, you're gonna forget something.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can't do Christmas movies.
These are in
Yeah,
no
I do.
particular order. I'm going to assume that they're in no particular order, but he has top 5 for me: Pulp Fiction,
great soundtrack.
Forrest Gump,
Great
Yeah.
soundtrack. I've seen some other people.
Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
A couple people.
I haven't seen that, yeah.
Star Wars 4,
Yeah.
That's New Hope.
That's New
New
Hope.
Hope, and Purple Rain.
Perfect.
I knew Purple Rain
Yeah.
was going to. Somebody would have to mention.
What else do we got
Great
going
list
on
there.
here?
I have Scott Pickrell's list.
We have Shannon Hoffman brings up Forrest Gump
Shannon says Forrest Gump and Drive.
and Drive. Tim High mentions the pirates that don't do anything.
I think he's still trying to dig on Guardians of the Galaxy. He's got a
I
bone
think-
to pick him.
He does not like the Guardians.
Tim loves Guardians.
It's
of the Galaxy.
because of Drax. He can't stand the way that they repurposed Drax,
Um,
which I'm with him on. I mean, but
it's a movie.
yeah,
Come on.
yeah.
Um,
He takes it a little more seriously than others.
I'm going to give Scott's list. Scott's number 5 was Gladiator. Number 4, Drive. Number 3, Back to the Future, the original. Number 2, Fellowship of the Ring, and number 1, Blade Runner.
Blade Runner. Yeah, there you go.
That's a good
Kevin
one.
Siegel, and I'm so glad that he mentioned this because this soundtrack was actually a really big favorite of mine in the day. It's sort of not carried on as much to me these days, but he mentioned Singles, which at the time that came out, I thought, oh, sure, just pull it.
Well,
down
he has
so
the
that-
top 5, which I didn't think you were going to read
Oh,
because
okay.
it was at the top. So I just
Oh,
scrolled up to
okay,
it.
all
So
right.
if you want to read
And
his
another
top
one that he
fucking
mentions
5,
is
fuck.
the Big Chill, which is a really amazing soundtrack. Rockstar, The Wall. Wow,
Ooh.
we didn't mention.
I
The
guess,
Wall.
yeah.
Yeah,
that
that's-
could-
I didn't even think of The Wall.
See, I didn't think of that
even
either.
think of The Wall.
Because to me, that was album first, movie later.
Yeah. Well, I made a little. I actually did sort of, and then, well, I'll talk about that in a minute. The Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the song remains the same, which I thought about those kind of movies, but I kind of wanted to leave like straight rock and roll movies or like music movies
Yeah.
kind of out of it.
What about this one here? Do you want to read that one, Jack?
What?
Kalina Melodic.
Kalina has honorable mention: the 50 Shades of Grey soundtrack. Number 5, Titanic. Number 3, Twister. 4. Four.
That's
Twister.
how numbers
5,
I can't the read.
5,
Math.
3.
5 is sorry. Shut up. 5 is Titanic. 4 is Twister. 3 is Streets of Fire. Number 2, Eddie and the Cruisers.
Eddie and the
2,
Cruisers, man.
And
Right
number
on.
1, Eddie and the Cruisers. I have that soundtrack, which is just fantastic.
Fantastic, yes, it is.
Yeah, John
Agreed.
Cafferty just knocked that home.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else we got going
I
on?
could probably do some
Platoon.
Danny Elfman soundtracks because I love Danny Elfman.
Yeah.
Do some Pee Wee, do some Edward
And-
Scissorhands.
And I mean, we can't ever forget Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. I don't know.
I can.
So I think we should. Is that it? Is there anybody else got anything? Is that it? Tim wants me to reiterate one more time that he loves Guardians of the Galaxy.
Tim would like us to mention that The Pirates That Don't Do Anything is a Veggie Tales movie.
Oh, perfect.
So
Well, he does love the
he
Guardians.
does love. Well, yes, that's true.
So
Thank you
We
to
have
all
to.
the
I'll
YouTube folks,
have to
and
check that one out.
if you're listening at home,